Don't think just because you're BFFs, you are going to be BRFs. Best roommates forever. Hey sailors, welcome back to Cruising as Crew. My name is Lucy and today we are going to be talking about how to deal with an awkward roommate. So when people message me and tell me that they're going on a cruise ship, they're starting their cruise ship career, very exciting, the main thing that people are concerned about is, am I going to get on with my roommate? Now I could stand here and bullshit you and say, yeah, of course you'll get on, don't worry about it. But I don't know if you're going to get on with your roommate. But what I do know is you will be able to deal with it because I have dealt with it. If I can do it, you can do it. And just like you guys, this was something that I was also very concerned with when I was going to work on a cruise ship. I was like, oh my God, what if I end up living with a monster? I'm not going to say I lived with a monster, but I've definitely had my fair share of interesting living situations. So firstly, I'm going to tell you about one of my difficult roommate situations just to reassure you that I've been through this. So we both worked together in the spa and we got on really well at work, which is why we agreed to live together. Now for the first few days I was like, this is fine, we're both tidy, we're both clean. In the morning our schedule is good, she gets up super early, showers, gets ready for work, so by the time I get out of bed, she's already gone for breakfast. Little things like that worked really well because the cabins, it's a small space. So if you both want to get up at the same time, shower at the same time, it's pretty difficult to have two people getting ready for work in a meter squared. But unfortunately, pretty soon issues started to creep up. So I think one of the biggest things that posed difficult was our age difference. So I was 21 at the time and it was my second contract. She was late 40s and she had been working on ships for 15 years at this point. So I was still very, very excited by ship life. I wanted to experience everything, I wanted to do everything. I was definitely making the most of Crew Bar at this time. Whereas she was at the point where she was like, I am done. I have been to Crew Bar. I have done all of the things. So I would finish work at 9:30, shower, get ready, go out. She would finish work at 9:30, shower, get in her pajamas and go to bed. Now, of course, it's not an issue that she didn't want to come to Crew Bar, but I would, come back at 1, 2 in the morning. And a few days after this happened, she was like, we need to have a chat. Basically, you wake me up when you come in at 1, 2 in the morning, which is fair enough. I do just want to say that I wasn't getting blackout drunk every night when I went to Crew Bar. A lot of the time I would go and have a lemonade or a Coca-Cola. So I would come back at 1 or 2 in the morning, but I was completely sober. So I was, considerate of the fact that she was asleep and trying to be quiet and stuff. But obviously, if someone comes into your cabin, I get it, it does wake you up slightly. And then I was in top bunk as well. So when I would climb into top bunk, any of you that have worked on a cruise ship, those ladders are creaky. Now I was very aware that the cabin was 50-50, half mine, half hers. And I really wanted to make her feel as comfortable as possible. So when she sat me down a few days into this and she was like, look, I can't have you waking me up every night. And I was like, yeah, that's fair. And she said, I'd really appreciate it if you, tried to come back at 12. I was just like, yeah, fine. I could probably do with more sleep anyway. So yeah, let's try and make that happen. So I would go out, but I would go out for an hour or so and be back by 12. But this kind of got stricter and stricter. I remember a few times I got back at 10 past 12 and she was like, you're late, which again, at the time I didn't really think anything of, but now looking back, I'm like, ooh, that's giving mom. And my mom didn't even do that. So it was interesting. And then, there were a few more issues. She was a Christian, she was religious. God's great, love that. She made a little shrine in the cabin. She had a lovely little statue of Jesus and religious pictures. This doesn't offend me, you do you. I put a picture of my mother up, my mum and my dad, on my cabin wall, and she asked me to take it down. And again, at the time I was like, yeah, okay, that's fine. So I moved it to and I put it over my bunk bed. So in a cabin, I'll try and insert a picture here, but in a cabin, you have the bunk beds usually at the end of the cabin, and each bunk bed has a curtain that you can draw across for a little bit of privacy. So I put the picture at the end of my bed, kind of in my little coffin bunk bed, and she still asked me to take it down. Then there was an issue with me spraying perfume. So before I went to work, I'm not spraying dry shampoo, which really, you know, I'm not spraying spray on deodorant. Like, I'm spritzing Armani C. And she was like, can you not do that because it sets off my asthma? Okay, groovy, that's weird, but whatever. And then there was a thing with the hairdryer. Can you not dry your hair with the hairdryer when I'm in the cabin because it sets off my asthma? So I had to then start timing my showers for when she like wouldn't be in the cabin, which is very difficult to do, which you will know if you've worked on a ship before. So anyway, there were way more things, but I digress because there's simply not enough time to tell you all the shit that happened. But anyway, she kept asking me to do all of these things, and I kept saying, yeah, no problem, because I was wanting to make her as comfortable as possible. But it was my friend who brought it to my attention. She was like, babe, it's not 50-50 anymore. It's 80-20. Like, you're living in her cabin. How is it that she can have a shrine of Jesus up, but you can't have a picture of your mom? Why can she have a TV put at the end of her bed, but you can't spray a little bit of perfume before you go to work? She's your roommate, she's not your parent. And this eventually came to a head, and we had an argument, and I moved out and moved in with my Scottish friend, and we had a great time. But I have definitely had my awkward roommates, and that was just one of them. Just the one. There's been a few more. And it's really difficult when you have a roommate for many reasons, but the biggest of which is your cabin is the one place on a cruise ship that you can switch off. Like, you're constantly surrounded by people. You're either at work or you're out in port with people, or there's always something going on. I've told you before, working on a cruise ship, things happen at a million miles an hour. So it's really important that you could go back to your cabin and relax and not have to tread on eggshells because you're living with a psychopath. I have no resentment towards Abigail because at the end of the day, I didn't deal with it correctly. Neither did she. But I could have changed the outcome of that situation if I had known how to deal with it. So, and that's what we're now going to talk about, so that if, God forbid, you find yourself living with someone who makes you want to tear your hair out, you'll know what to do. So if I could go back, one of the first conversations that I would have had with Abigail when she moved in would have gone something like this. Hey, great to be living with you, really excited for this. This cabin is half yours and half mine, so it's really important that we make this living situation work because we both want this cabin to be a safe space and a relaxing space. So if at any point I do something to annoy you or upset you or something's not quite right, please feel free to like bring it up with me, because I'm never going to do something to intentionally like make you feel a type of way. So unless you tell me that it's making you feel upset, angry, frustrated, like I'm going to assume that you're fine with it. And I hope that you know I'm going to do the same in return. But I also hope you know it's never going to be a personal attack. Like, my aim will never be to upset you, but it's important that we're both happy living in this cabin together. And to do that, we need to be able to communicate what we like and what we don't like. Now, I think it's really important to add in, I hope you know that it's never a personal attack, because I think the reason that people don't say anything is because they're worried that their roommate is going to take it personally and it's going to cause more problems than solve more problems. Now, you're probably thinking, well, it sounded like Abigail did not have a problem communicating her annoyances. She didn't. She did not have an issue with that. I was the one that had an issue with that. Like, I was not a good communicator when I was in my 20s or early 20s. And that is definitely something that situations like this has helped me develop. So whether you're the one moving into the cabin or whether someone is moving into your cabin, it's really important that you have this conversation, because also you might be thinking, oh, well, like, I'm a great communicator, I'm fine. Well, that's great, but you have to accept that the person moving in or the person you're moving in with might be the Lucy in this situation, and they might not be ultra comfortable communicating. And if that's the case, that's even more of a reason why you need to have this conversation with them. Because I have met a lot of people who come across very, very confident, but they avoid conflict like the plague. And they would rather just not say anything. Even if you do something that really pisses them off, they would rather not say anything than potentially upset you or cause an argument or whatever. So for example, another roommate that I had that I loved did something that annoyed me. So she used to play music in the morning. Now, I don't mind a little bit of music, but I mean 7:30 a.m. Spanish music, and I love Spanish music, but full blast 7:30 a.m. Spanish music with the good bass, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is a lot. Like, I like a bit of silence in the morning to gather my thoughts, you know, but that's fine. Like, everyone likes different things. So this went on for a few weeks, and I was like, I've got to say something, because this is not, you know, I just wasn't enjoying it. So I said to her, I never listen to music in the morning. Like, if it was just me, I would never listen to music in the morning. And she was like, really? I was like, yeah, like, why do you listen to music in the morning? And she was like, oh, but you know, because it pumps me up for the day, like, it gets me ready. Well, how would you feel then if we listen to music in the morning? Because, you know, I want you to be pumped up for the day, but we just had the volume lower. And she was like, oh my God, yeah, like, absolutely, that's fine. And from then on, it was all right. Most days we would have the music on a medium volume, which I was happy with, but because she now knew that I didn't like listening to music first thing in the morning, she would also be more considerate of that and just some days not put it on. Because most people are considerate, most people don't want to annoy their roommate, but also because I hadn't communicated that, she just assumed that I was fine with listening to music at full volume early in the morning. But what I will say, like 90% of the time, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So if I'd have gone in with, I hate that you put music on at full blast at 7:30 in the morning, can you not do that? She would have obviously felt attacked, probably got defensive, also got resentful. But instead of I would love it if you didn't play music every morning. I would love it if we had some days that we didn't play music and some days that we did. You know, we, us, together as roommates. I find we helps a lot instead of like, you are pissing me off. And something else that's really important is to understand why they're doing the thing that annoys you. So like I asked, why do you listen to music? Oh, because it gets me pumped up for the day. Oh, okay, well now I understand why you do what you do. For example, going back to Abigail, another thing that she asked me not to do was have friends over in the cabin. And I mean like a few of the girls from the spa for pre-drink. She was like, I don't want anyone in this cabin apart from me and you. Which again, I was like, okay, can't even have my girlfriend round, but cool. Now, after we had stopped living together, I asked her why that was the case. Like, why didn't you want me to have people in the cabin? And I found out that on her previous contract, her roommate had friends over for pre-drinks, and when she got back to the cabin, they had stolen a load of her stuff. And unfortunately, I don't know the ins and outs, but she never got it back. She never got her stuff back. And I'm like, oh, I wish I'd have known that at the time. One, that would have made me way less resentful about her asking me to do that. I would have happily not had friends over. But also it would have given me an opportunity to maybe like reassure her that I have full trust in the people that I invite over. Like, I'm not just going to invite any Tom, Dick and Harry over. Those are two examples of why it's really important to understand why someone's asking you to do something, but vice versa. So if you're going to request your roommate starts doing something or stops doing something, it's really helpful for them if you communicate why you want that to happen. Your aim is to avoid making your roommate feel defensive. And then the last thing I'm going to mention about roommates is, don't think just because you're BFFs you are going to be BRFs, best roommates forever. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Some of my best roommates, my easiest living situations, has been with people that I'm ambivalent about. There was one girl who I lived with who I love, like best person ever. We did not work well. We wanted to kill each other most of the time, and we were really upset about it because we were like, but we're such good friends, like this was supposed to work, but it didn't. It really didn't work. If you get the rare opportunity to choose your roommate, don't just choose them because like you get on really well. Like I said, me and Abigail got on really well at work. Like, we were great at work, which is why I was like, yeah, move in. But ask them questions. Like, what time do you get up? Do you do your makeup in the bathroom, or do you do your makeup in the cabin? Do you go for breakfast in the morning? Do you not go for breakfast in the morning? Do you go to crew bar a lot? How tidy are you? Do you clean? Do you hoover? You'd be surprised. How often do you change your bedding? Like, all of these questions, it's helpful to know the answer before they move in. And some of those questions, if you've never been on a cruise ship before, you're like, why do you need to know if they get ready in the bathroom or the cabin? Well, the cabin is very small. So if they say, yeah, I do my makeup in the bathroom, you're like, okay, well, great. Because while you're doing your makeup in the bathroom, I can get dressed in the cabin. Whereas if they're like stood in the middle of the I don't know, it's just a lot of it, you just kind of have to deal with it when it happens. And like I said, it's very rare that you will get the opportunity to select your roommate. Now, obviously, the dream situation is that you are really good friends and you are really compatible. And I have had that, and oh my God, it is the best thing ever. It's wonderful. But sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes you are like, I love you as a person, but living with you is hell. But anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this video. That is how you can deal with an awkward roommate. Hopefully you never need this advice and you end up living with people who are just absolutely wonderful. But, you know, that's not always the case. So keep this video in your back pocket. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this video, but I hope you never need this video. But if you have any questions or comments, you can leave them down below. You can message me on Instagram. You can send me an email at lucy@cruisingascrew.com. You can go to my website and check out my career guides if you want to know more about working on cruise ships. Have a wonderful day. And as always, I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.